Well, that was certainly one of the races of all time. Let's have a quick chat about the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix. I think we'll start off with the start of the race, because that was probably where some of the biggest action happened, to be honest. That Max Verstappen clash with Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli locks up and does his, as some of my friends described, best impression of Bottas bowling into turn 3. Welcome back to the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix, some of my friends said. I, later on, saw the clash that Colapinto got involved in with Yuki Tsunoda, and thought, welcome back to the 2020 Austrian Grand Prix. Or, at the same time, the 2022 edition. Except, if you were the second Red Bull driver, you were usually the one who was on the receiving end of being turned around. So, yeah, it was interesting. These pieces of contact. I think let's talk more about the Antonelli one, because that turn 3 has been lethal this weekend. We saw the crashes in F3 or even in F2. That corner has always been tricky. I mean, I think the scariest one that I've seen was the MotoGP one a few years ago. It's part of why they have a chicane there now. But, yeah. It is what it is. That's a risk that you have with a corner like that. An uphill hairpin at the end of the DRS zone, the fastest point of the track, the heaviest braking zone. You're always going to have somebody lock up and hit someone else. And that was always going to be the outcome. As for the battle up the front, it's hardly surprising, really, is it? It's a track that's tricky to overtake it, especially when you're both in the same car. Piastri, I think, had the pace advantage over Lando. But, crucially, he flat spotted when Lando went into pit. Wouldn't have been able to make the overcut work. It's a track where the undercut is usually more impressive than the overcut anyways, but he wasn't going to be able to make it work anyway. And, yeah, just had to follow him home in the end. It's a shame, because if McLaren were considering trying to consolidate as big of a victory advantage as they needed, or as they wanted, I guess, then you would have swapped the two around. But they let them race, which is good for the fans, it's good for the spectacle. It's good for having a title battle. But if you were to try and maximise your points finish, you might have chosen to do that. That said, though, they weren't under any real threat. Charles Leclerc was 20 seconds back. It was pit stop advantage at the end of the race, despite doing what you might call the suboptimal team call. Lewis Hamilton in 4th was 29 seconds off, and then George Russell was nearly a lap down. Liam Lawson. I've got to say, I'm really impressed with Lawson's performance this weekend. He was the best Red Bull driver, and was 6th, the only car remaining on the lead lap. But Ferrari got into some fine form. That suspension upgrade has worked pretty well. Sure, there is the fact that Charles beat Lewis by 10 seconds. Sure, Lewis complained about the strategy, and Charles complained about being told to lift and coast when he felt he was already lifting and coasting. But that upgrade seems to have worked well, and it's hard to tell whether or not it's a Red Bull Ring thing. Mercedes power units used to struggle with the high altitude, but McLaren seems to have gotten the car dialed in for this track. It just seems like Ferrari have gone the right way with that suspension upgrade. We'll have to wait to see for the next couple of tracks to see if that is the case. If you think about the fact that the upcoming tracks that we've got are the likes of Silverstone, Spa, or the Hungaroring, it means that it's not entirely slam dunk whether or not this is going to be the best thing for Ferrari. Elsewhere, in notable performances, I think the double point score for Sauber is actually really impressive there. It puts them 2 points behind Aston Martin. And that is despite the fact that well, Aston Martin had Alonso score with 7th. The points gap, I think, remains the same, because I think it was 2 points coming into it. But it means that both of them are able to close in even more, and yeah, I think they're only 1 and 3 points respectively behind Haas at the end of this. VCarb have managed to climb a bit further clear because of Lawson's point score. I'll get into the standings in a moment. But it's impressive for the Ferrari power unit, because what with the issues for the Williams cars and Lance Stroll being one of the last cars 1 lap down, it seemed like the Mercedes power unit somewhat struggled, so it's potentially all the more impressive that McLaren got the result they did. But it looked like the Ferrari power unit seemed to be the one to have this weekend. But let's talk about the drivers' standings at the end of this race. I think it's right to say, and I think I said this after Canada, that Piastri's points advantage isn't safe. The points advantage is now 17 points. Sorry, not 17 points, 15 points even. So if Lando is able to lead Piastri home the next 2 weekends, then, wow, he ends up getting the lead, because Spa is in 2 weekends' time, and that's the sprint. They're both very well clear of Verstappen, though. 61 points for Piastri over Verstappen after this, and that is a comfortable advantage. If they manage to keep the form that they've got going into the summer break, it will be safe, more or less. Russell is now 9 points behind Verstappen. Leclerc is 27 points behind Russell. And Hamilton is 28 points behind Leclerc on 91. But still, himself is, 28 points clear of Antonelli in 7th. The top 10 being rounded out by Albon, Ocon and Hülkenberg. However, when you look at the constructors' standings, Ferrari are just under half of what McLaren's points are. McLaren are on 417, Ferrari are on 210. And Ferrari have actually managed to clear Mercedes as a result of the events for this weekend. Mercedes are on 209, so that battle for second in the championship is going to be quite intense. Red Bull are on 162. Then it's Williams, VCarb, Haas, Aston, Sauber and Alpine. Alpine have really struggled this year, and it's sometimes just no fault of their own, really. I mean, Colapinto made a silly mistake there when it came to the penalty that he got for moving across on Piastri. But Gasly, I mean, could he have done much else different today? I don't really know. Anyways, as always, folks, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching and joining, and until next time, it's bye-bye for now.